Welcome to another episode of my podcast that's fun with me. Today we're going to be talking about League Labs once again because they came out with another video and I'm a little bit late on that topic, but I swear every single time I come out with another podcast that I do every week, they're coming out with more information, with more videos. I'm like, oh my God, I should have inserted that in my previous podcast, but it is what it is. We're filming another part. And now they try to give us at least some answers, which I appreciate. But let's dive deeper into this video and let's give some commentary.
You've been on the internet the last few weeks. It's highly likely that you've seen a video about the lipstick lesbians and our new brand, Leak Labs. It's also highly likely that you may think we've disappeared.
We did not disappear. We've been traveling. We're at the airport. We're on our way home.
We've also grossly underestimated that volume of feedback would come at the busiest cycle of the year, literally for innovation.
So my question, why did you pick the launch date at the busiest time of the year when there's going to be a Cosmoprof conference, where there's your launch, where there's just a lot of feedback? And second question, you knew there's going to be a lot of feedback because this is a concept of your company. So you literally told people you're going to buy some products, you're going to give us feedback, we're going to document this feedback, bring some new innovations, change some formulas, or maybe do something different. This is literally the way they promoted this brand. And now going away to the conference, they could have probably sent someone else from their team to participate and film something around this conference. They could have split up. I understand this is their kind of business and they have to be a union or whatever, but I feel like sometimes as a brand owner, you have to take responsibility. And if Alexa had to go to this conference, then Christina should have stayed, or Christina should have gone to this conference and Alexa should have stayed. Because they were so quick on the State of the Union video, where it was literally like 1 week later or even less than that. And instead of this aggressive answer that we got about 3 or 4 weeks ago when they're filmed, so they found a place, they found people that kind of asked them questions during the State of the Union. They created a script. So instead of that, they should have answered some of the questions. Now what we see is the trip to the Korea. Who is planning a trip to anywhere else when you're in the middle of the mess, or not even the mess, but if everything goes well, everything goes fine and great, you still have to be present. You are a brand owner. That's what I see, and that everything is so unpredictable. If something happens, you should stay and you should control the process. And actually this happened. People were curious. They were asking questions. Then they got a really aggressive reply from them. So they had to delete this video. So they wasted their time on filming, editing, scripting some useless video that actually reached people even more. And then living to Korea doesn't look good. That's a bad look, honestly. And I kind of get it if they were new to this business, but they actually were the brand owners. And they closed down their business about a year ago in 2025, if I'm mistaken. That is the main reason why I feel like they should have known better, because they actually owned business. And it's given a little bit the flavor, the fleur of the model and pattern that maybe their business is not successful because of a leading positions. But I know that this is not a personal attack. Honestly, I'm just kind of like, I didn't spend my money. Okay, I didn't buy the Leak Labs. I didn't spend my own money. That's why I don't really care. Yeah, if you really want me to be honest, I don't really care. If people really want to buy their products and invest in their business, that's great. But as someone who's just observing this whole situation that is happening right now, it just actually raises certain questions. And I just want to sometimes give this platform and raise some issues, and maybe even give the platform to some other voices to say that it's probably not okay to make it look that bad. Okay, let's keep on watching.
Cosmoprof is the quintessential innovation conference. It resets the beauty industry in its entirety for the year. We can totally understand the frustration that mounted because we weren't responding fast enough. But the human truth is we simply couldn't process the information that was coming at us fast enough to give you what you all wanted.
We totally can see how people are feeling left out of the conversation.
Okay, so they are talking about the fact that they just didn't expect that much feedback. I guess people, they don't really care about the way how quick they responded to some certain questions. The question was that the survey, people had to actually ask, when is it going to be a survey? When is it going to be some information that's going to be collected? Okay, so this is a question, like, why do people have to ask for these questions if this is something that was already advertised, that you're going to be documented? And for about a week or maybe 2 weeks, people didn't even have any idea or clue if there's going to be any test or some kind of paper that's going to ask about their opinion, except for some comments. That's why it was quite scary to see why people were like super mad, and they were not happy because they actually spend their money. And the fact that they were like, we are shocked that there's so much feedback coming out, but this is what you actually were asking for feedback.
Because leaked was really for the makeup obsessed beauty enthusiasts. Now, with this feedback that we're getting, we can totally make adjustments. That's the whole point.
We were in a sea of sameness. We are here to bring you access both in information and in tactile textures and formulas that you otherwise wouldn't experience.
Okay, so they're talking about innovation, and they are talking about transparency, how they're sharing everything, like teaching us about certain things. So I'm going to show you real quick, honestly, like favorite YouTubers, Jen Love. And I really love the fact that she's breaking everything down. She has a great team of lawyers, not actually team, but she has access to some lawyers and a lot of subscribers that have some scientific background. That is the main reason why I come back to Jen Love, because she's explaining everything in detail from the perspective that is scientifically proven. And that is the main reason why I just really want to show you real quick the fact, what actually bothered a lot of the times people, that when they asked, and the owners, Alexis and Christina, they're talking about like this transparency. When people are asking, they're still given a vague explanation. This is not real explanation that is meant to be, I guess, inserted in certain parts of their promo or whatever. So let's watch it together. This is a small fragment from Jen Love's video.
And I want to read you their response. They said, "This is something we see across powders that use liquid binders, but totally understand why it can feel confusing. So we wanted to make sure you heard it directly from the source. Here is what was relayed. Mica adsorption refers to the process where oils or chemicals adhere to mica's surface, enhancing texture and stability in cosmetics." Then they say, "Imagine pouring cocoa powder into a liquid. The powder absorbs the liquid, making the mixture denser. In cosmetics, powdery substances absorb the binders, binding together and improving the consistency and stability of the product." Okay, so just like the scientists here were saying, they were open about defining mica adsorption. That's the surface coating of the oils adhering to the outside. Yes, great, good, same page. But then the very next sentence, they switched to cocoa powder absorbing the liquid, and these are totally different things. Adsorption and absorption are not interchangeable, and I don't understand why we're still here in this conversation at all.
Okay, so as I can tell, and as I realized, the whole point of adsorption and absorption is the fact that absorption is when the product is absorbing moisture, and adsorption is when only the surface is actually getting some of the liquid. So it's not kind of like penetrating inside the molecula or mica, whatever, I don't really know, and it's just coating the surface, and that is the difference. And that is my question. When they try to tell that they're teaching people about innovation, about products, they're referring to their experience, that they've been in this industry, especially Alexa, if I'm mistaken. She's talking about her experience that she has over like 20 years in this field, but they're failing to answer some basic question that is asked about the ingredients. And this is the whole point of the Lipstick Lesbians TikTok channel, to explain and show people what is actually in the ingredient list, what they're paying for, the packaging, or maybe they're overpaying for some specific ingredients. That is the question that a lot of the people getting, like, they're not still given some clear answers. It's super vague, or it's a mix of words that in one sentence they're stating one thing, and the other sentence is not referring to the previous one, where it's just like completely different and opposite polar things. That is the question. That is the problem.
Some brands own their formulas, some brands don't. There's a whole world out there of nuance. With Leaked Labs, we can explain to you that our intention with these goods is to push them to their limits or bring them to market as is when we feel so compelled by the sheer innovation of it all. I'm actually so humbled by the amount of people that wanted a retail ready brand from me and us. I really am.
From you.
I didn't expect that. You will get that in some version, just not the way you're used to getting it. Otherwise, I'm in the sea of sameness with everyone else, and that's the place I never want to be.
Maybe not every single person knows, but they did actually have another brand, and I briefly touched on this topic real quick. The question here is that you were in the pool, in the sea of the sameness, but unfortunately just failed. I feel like it probably they were lacking a little bit of influence. That was the main reason that they started this brand before they got super popular, but they were televised and people kind of knew about their brand, so it failed. And now they came out with a new strategy and they were like, what is going to make us different from other brands? And they mentioned this earlier, like we want to be different. What's never been done before? The fact that we can ask people to pay for lab samples, and yeah, they are tested. They are safe to use. They do have preservative system. The only question that we still get is the fact that they're still not done. They're not quite done. They are safe to use. I'm pretty much sure. Unfortunately, when people try to use it, there's a problem in the fact that they're ripping off the thickness and so many more other questions. And it's a very expensive product. This is super expensive product. And they don't really have a packaging. And I'm going to go back to one more really important fact, but just the sea of sameness. Are you freaking kidding me? You did have a brand in the sea of sameness and you were fine about that, but the strategy didn't really work for you. So you came out with another strategy.
We have to be true to our ethos of education. Christina has a doctorate in education. I have been doing this for 20 years. I have a deep love.
And again, we're going to the same question. Christina is a doctor of education. Okay, what kind of field? What if okay, I should just check this out. About the teaching aspect, we slightly, again, talked about that, about Jen Love's video, when she actually had real questions, not just some surface level question, but the deep question with the knowledge and with the base of scientists behind that. But they still mixed everything up together and it just didn't actually answer the questions. That's weird.
And my love isn't about perfection. My love is about teaching you.
And again, what do you mean? Your love is not about perfection. It's about teaching you. You were teaching that certain brands, they're just taking a lot of money for the sake of the beautiful packaging. And you taught a lot of people about certain things, that some products, they look scammy. And now you have a product that does look unfinished. It looks like it's unfinished product, though they're saying that it's finished product. But still, if you're saying in one of the podcasts, Los Angeles podcast, you're already redoing the formula of the Flexi powders when it hasn't even hit the market yet. What are we talking about? This is not a finished product if you're already redoing the product without even a feedback. So you know about the problems and you're still releasing the product.
So if I had to build a brand, it was going to be a brand rooted in teaching you and showing you how it's done.
But they're not actually showing us how it's done, how it's made. They're not. For now, not. And, okay.
Because that's who the lipstick lesbians have always been. There's nothing wrong with getting constructive feedback. And we can receive constructive feedback. We thank you for it.
Yes, thank you.
We're better for it. The next leak is going to be even better than we could have even anticipated because of it. But here's the most important part. We will not accept attacks on our appearance, on our aesthetic, on who we are as people. We will not accept these lies that we're scamming people for money. That's not who we are. And that's just, quite frankly, not right.
Okay, so here I am totally on their side, 100%. It doesn't give any person any right to talk about your personality, to call out the appearance and everything above they mentioned earlier. So I do believe that when we're talking in this podcast about leak labs, we're talking specifically about products, about manufacturers, about the way how they handled the situation, how they didn't answer, how the education part wasn't there. And I want to make sure that it's clear that we're not doing any attacks on them in particular as individuals. I do believe that they should have known better because they were already brand owners and they should have known better because they have experience in this field. But at the same time, real attacks that it has nothing to do with brands, I don't really have anything against them personally. Honestly, I don't. So I don't know why other people have.
Hear the feedback on the price. More people want to be a part of this, and we want to include you.
The most innovative formulas cost the most until there are brands and other suppliers and other tools that are created to make it lower in cost. Sometimes the raw materials themselves are at such insane costs, and then there's ways to develop the effect of what that raw material does and replace it with something, less expensive. What you can expect going forward is transparency. Some prices will be higher and some will be lower. Some will be more retail ready in terms of product than others. Some will be formulated from scratch by me. Some will be slightly modified by me because I think that they're wonderful as is.
Why are they going back to the same thing as they're going to formulate some products in the future? That is my question, because when I did my first ever podcast about League Labs and they were talking about products, they called them, I don't really like this phrase, but they called them orphans. And this is just a product. It's not an orphan, and it has nothing to do with like real issue and real problem in society. So I'm on this page with Kiki and Jen Love. What I'm saying here is the fact they mentioned that these formulas, they were already pre-made in labs. That is the main reason why other brands, they just didn't want to pick them up because they felt like it was too innovative, as they mentioned. The problem that I see is right now what they're talking about is about custom-made formulas. And I talked about this so many times. Like custom-made formulas, they are very expensive. They are expensive, but you can patent them. And what they promised us at the beginning of this whole situation, that it's not going to be custom-made formula. It's going to be the formula that is not adapted to some other brands, and that is the reason why they just didn't pick this up. So I just don't really understand. They're coming back and forth, back and forth. It's not bad, probably, but I feel like maybe it's just a thought, a trace of thought. What if the Flexi powder is actually their custom-made formula? That is actually answering the question why they're not giving this up. Because if they invested so much money in, producing this formula, Flexi powder formula, and then now people are not happy with this formula, then I kind of understand why they just don't really want to give this up. Because they spend a lot of money on this formula, and they probably patent this formula. If this is something that they actually told us, and this is a formula that was already pre-made, then there's another question. Why would you take extra time and energy to perfect this formula if it didn't really go well? That is my question. And that is the question about all of their videos. They're coming like back and forth, and people are like, no, you didn't say this. No, you said this. No, you didn't say that. It's quite weird. It's weird.
This weird conspiracy around us selling the data. I could understand why people would be upset with that, but that's not what's happening. The sentiment that we're looking at is whether or not we bring a product back, the product retires, or we evolve a product further.
We refine it. We heard you. We heard you on packaging. We heard you on wanting something, even though we're doing this early access innovation to try and make it even more fully realized from an experience perspective. And we can do that. So we're actually going to adjust some of the leaks and when they come out in the cycle. And we're going to be extremely intentional in the language, explaining at what stage of innovation this product is hitting you, how it was developed.
They mentioned that the price point is super, super expensive because of some, like raw materials and whatever. We do actually get a lot of other brands. And for example, like Patrick Ta, when he released his eyeshadows, that the cost was about like $40. Was it $40 or $24? $24 for him sticking for 2 eyeshadows. And people were pissed. They were literally pissed. And he said, I just wanted to create a formula that I'm going to be obsessed with. And it turned out a little bit moldy. So that was a huge scandal and whatsoever. And so many other brands, they have different formulas. They're quite expensive. But the packaging is on point. The PR is still on point. The fact that you get a lot of the product from this palette, it's definitely not 1 gram of eyeshadows. Most of these eyeshadows, they have over 5, 10, or even 20 grams per 1 eyeshadow. So I don't really know what the cost of this raw materials in a sampled package, because it's not a real package. It's definitely like a lab package. And what is there? Diamonds? Like real diamonds? But because I just don't understand. Like for 1 gram of the product, so in total you get about like 5 grams or like 4.5, maybe 5 grams of real product. You pay $36 without packaging, without PR campaign, actual PR campaign, and without models, without some extra costs that other brands they're paying, and they're asking a huge amount of money. That is my question, because when even some other like luxurious brands, they did something similar with like new formulas, it still wasn't that expensive. It wasn't. But I feel like they mentioned that in the first batch, they didn't want to do a lot of products because they had their concerns that if it's going to stay on the shelves, they're not going to have a lot of money to, I guess, invest them in the second launch. That is the thing that probably they asked for about, like, again, let's call it like 500 items. And when you're doing that small batch, then it's going to be, yeah, so much more higher in cost. It's like the same way. So if you go to a local market and you try to buy something in individual, like an individual item or like in the small package, then it's going to be way more pricier if you buy like 20 or 30 items at once. That's just the way how a lot of the shops they operate, because they're buying a huge batch of products and then they're selling this higher in price individually, then they purchase that in a huge batch of products. So I can get what they're saying.
How it was refined, and we're going to show you all of that in our docuseries.
And we're also going to get really clear on the language as well. Some of the language was definitely confusing and didn't accurately represent what we were trying to do.
Well, I really love this part. I can applaud for that for sure, because that a lot of their explanation is super vague. It doesn't give a clear message what they're actually talking about. That's the main reason why, if they're actually going to work on this issue, it's great. I really appreciate this point.
So thank you for sharing that feedback with us so that we could evolve and make Leak Labs better.
And that's the point. Because remember, beauty queens, there are hundreds of brands, thousands, if not millions of product on the market.
Yeah.
The choice is always yours.
Well, that is another really great point. We talked about that no one is asking you to spend your money. So even if it sounds scammy to you, then just don't buy. And it does sound a little bit scammy to me, in a way, like at first I thought that's such a cool idea, honestly. I'm not going to sit and pretend that I wasn't excited about this kind of concept, because I thought that it's going to be something super innovative. But when it's a Flexi powder that is ripping off, it's not a finished product, it's in a leaked sample kind of like packaging, and they're not answering some questions, and there's just like the problem with using the product, and it's getting a little bit messy. So it's not actually innovative in the way that it's solving my issue and problem. That is the main reason why, like, that's a huge bummer. I thought, like, that's a bummer. But again, I talked about that in my first podcast about Leak Labs, that I said, like, if they have more misses than hits, then they're probably going to be out of the business. And I really want to insert a small clip from Alexandra, one of the makeup artists. She was talking about this product with her boyfriend, has nothing to do with like makeup industry, and he said that, yeah, first impression, it sounds scammy and it sounds like there's some kind of like a problem with this.
Just kind of explained it to my boyfriend, he works on a very like corporate level. Like, he works for the NFL, and he works with, obviously the NFL is like gigantic, and he also has worked with like a lot of like massive brands around the NFL. And he's just like very business minded. So I asked him, I kind of explained the whole situation to him and asked him for his feedback. He knows nothing about beauty, but his initial feedback was just very like, the word he used was scammy. And I think my worry here is that this is my concern. I'm concerned that this is going to be there's no such thing as bad press type of thing. And that's just a feeling that I have deep down in my soul, like in my heart, down in here. And I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with this.
I know that they feel like it's not a scam because they're actually spending time and energy on these formulas, but I guess it's just not a successful launch. The first launch wasn't successful. They should have maybe used some other product as a pilot batch.
It's true. In every video we've ever made as the Lipstick Lesbians, it couldn't even be more true now that Leak Labs exist. The choice is yours.
And for everyone who purchased our first leak, thank you. That means so much that you supported us and that you wanted to experience these early access innovations. And we're working on ways to engage with you further.
I worked in the beauty industry for 20 years. Within my career, and even 3 years ago, I felt voiceless. Whatever space I occupied as a beauty lover, I was either too much, too big, too fat, too loud, too opinionated, too in love with artistry.
Too intense.
Too intense. And I actually thought that I would be rejected by the internet, which is why I never made content, and we argued about it for 5 years. And the truth is that I never let the rejection of beauty, the industry at large, the way it rejected me, affect the way I showed up for you when I did finally break that seal, boom, and come on the internet because of Christina gamifying it for me.
It's okay, Mom. Do you want me to take over?
I think I can do it. So Leak Labs is the entry point into beauty that is meant to be welcoming, healing, and loving in the way that I never got to experience it in my career.
Okay, so that is the point. No makeup, crying, messy bun. It's like we copied this from the book of influencer, the apology video. I do get the idea that sometimes people, they do actually mess up, and I totally understand this, and I'm not trying to, kind of like pick on that. It's the fact that it's so performative right now. It's considered to be performative in 2026, because when Tati Westbrook, when James Charles, who else, Jeffree Star, every single time he's apologizing for something, like, or whatever, was apologizing, then Jaclyn Hill, Laura Lee, Patrick Ta, Mima Mitchell. Why is it always has to be with no makeup and with crying? You can be relatable. You can actually show that you care about the situation. You can apologize to people, but it's just like the manipulation that every single influencer is doing, in my opinion. And do you remember, maybe you don't remember, but James Charles, he had his own show where he was teaching influencers how to become the ultimate influencer. And what he was talking about, the way, like, he had a challenge how to film an apology video, and every single person, they went straight to the bathroom, took off their makeup, and started crying. The fact that I was so pissed about this video, because they didn't do anything bad, so they didn't. But they actually started, some of them started crying. And then it gives this sense of fakeness to this whole point. This is not just an apology that people are waiting for, because if you actually can be true to yourself, you can sit in your, I don't know, beauty studio, whatever, and you can be full beat, like makeup on, and just not cry. I don't really know. I feel like the crying is just considered right now more like a manipulation than a real cry. I do remember when Patrick Ta, he filmed himself crying, but he had like 2 videos, and then he deleted the first one because he felt like it wasn't that aesthetically pleasing, it wasn't enough, so he actually filmed himself literally crying. If I'm mistaken, the first video where he uploaded, he was just sitting and apologizing. In the second video, he started crying, or at least trying to cry. And people were like, this is so fake. And even if I feel like they probably feel this problem, they might actually have an issue, but the first initial reaction was aggression in the State of the Union. Then they realized that it's not working. People are pissed. They delete this video. They go to Korea. They ask some questions from their lab chemists, and then they are at the airport. I don't know for what reason. They could have filmed this at home. They could have filmed this in the hotel room in full makeup on, and now it's about crying. I mean, it's given this textbook rules how to be an influencer and how to apologize. And is it actually coming from the real heart, or it's just performative? And it's really hard to say right now. In 2026, it's really hard to say, because every single influencer who screw up actually is taking accountability with like no makeup, with the messy bun, and with crying, and people, they're calling them out for that. And this is so messy, because people, they're like, just apologize with full makeup on. Why do you have to take this off, and why do you have to cry? And people, they don't really see the difference. Is it a real cry or it's a fake cry? And it's better just to apologize, or maybe not even apologize, but just say, yeah, we're gonna get back with these answers like in a day or two, stay tuned, whatever. And the final part is, they're still feeling like that's an innovative business. It's hard to say for now. We probably have to see launch number 2, and only then we're gonna decide if it's actually innovative or it's not. We need to find some answers, but we're gonna get some answers hopefully, and maybe then we can give the final thoughts and conclude this whole thing that really happened. But I feel like it's okay. They messed up. Though they actually had some other business model and business brand, they still messed up. We're not immune to this kind of problem. We all can mess up, and I totally get it. The question is how they're going to handle this in the future, and is it going to teach them a lesson of how to actually work with customers, how to present their looks, how not to go anywhere and not leave in their launch. So it's more about that. Are we going to see the progress and how people are going to grow from this, or they're going to be still same old mistake? Okay, I am waiting for your comments, guys. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in the next podcast. That's fine with me. Bye-bye. Well, guys, I finished my podcast, and I even completed the editing process. And this morning, I woke up and I realized that I have very good comments that I just can't ignore them. I feel like you should hear some of these comments and maybe all of these comments, because They're great and they're adding depth to this podcast. That is the main reason why I'm going to get started with like quick ones. Yeah, your eyeshadow looks amazing and the green shadow is gorgeous. Thank you so much. You can check out this in my shorts, and I released a video where I was sharing my get ready with me or something like this. Thank you for making this follow-up video. You're mostly welcome. Thank you for leaving those comments because I feel like it's really important to address these issues, and I'm so happy that you are interested in this topic. I hate this. We already have amazing products. Why do we need this? This is making our life harder. Yeah, Jennifer, I totally agree with you. Thank you for saying this because we do have a lot of products, but with the economy right now, we don't really have a budget to waste so much money on something that has to be perfected to a better purpose. I mean, I don't really get the point. You have to pay $34 and then help them to make it better. It's just a waste of money. Okay, I really have a lawn comment that I really want to read because it has great points, and that is the main reason why Joe Rez, if I'm not mistaken, this is the right pronunciation. Thank you so much for sharing this. Okay, I'm gonna read it real quick. You can see this on your screen. This product was not their new innovative great idea that will rock the makeup world. They never thought that about this product. This product was just a money grab for the real idea. They either didn't want to risk that much on their own money or they needed more money to invest. They needed a quick way to make money. You cannot tell me that the lipstick lesbians who are professionals and know the industry like the back of their hands, that this was the product that rocked the world and they were so excited for. Yeah, this is my concern. We talked about that sometimes you just can't believe that people with such a great background, they would come up with something like this. And they stress out in the video where we're talking in today's podcast that they're experts and they want to teach and whatever, but like they even failed to answer some simple question from Jen Love. And even if they are not answering those questions, then they should hire someone who has knowledge to answer such questions. That is my point as well. That it was the first out of the gate, that they didn't know all the problems with this product. Exactly. They knew. Exactly. They needed something that they can sell to their fans and customers fast and make a huge profit margin to raise enough money for their actual business idea. This product was probably cheap to buy up. Through foreshadows, they didn't even equal up one eyeshadow circle in a normal palette into one small tin, not even in their individual tins, a cheap label on it, then charge $34 and $6 for shipping. They didn't even waive the shipping. Since the customers weren't going to be the focus group, they sold the idea that the customer would be in on it, that they want to put a product out if the customer wants, that it's new and innovative and change the makeup world for the positive. There's no way they thought this. They manipulated the customers into buying this product that nobody wanted for a reason. When people called them out for not sending out the survey for people to give them their feedback on, that is when I got the gut feeling, because didn't care about the customer's feedback. That was an oopsie on their part. They weren't gonna go through the comments to fish for a good idea. Yes, this particular product was never meant to be their actual great innovative business idea. This was to raise money for whatever they have planned. You know, I really want to believe that they have something great in their mind, and that is the main reason why they try to launch this product in order to create something better and greater. But I have the concerns that maybe there's nothing going to be great in the future, and maybe it's just a cash grab and that's it. So we're going to test this out. Thank you for this valid point. It's really valid. This is my strong speculation and opinion. I keep repeating to myself, there's no way they didn't know this product was not a good idea. They knew it wasn't a good idea. That is why they got it so cheap. This is just my strong gut feeling. Side note, they had a fairly good reputation of knowing the industry, knowing what they were talking about, knowing what to look for. So people trust them. Yeah, this is important to understand that people were expecting a great product for them because they were criticizing other products and they were breaking down ingredients, they were breaking down the packaging, what you're actually paying for and what you shouldn't pay for because it's too expensive. And now they're coming out with a product for $34 and they can't even justify the price. People thought that they were coming out with a product that was quality. They just wanted to know our opinion for tweaks, packaging ideas. No one expected the product itself to be poor quality, for it to make it harder to use and messier. Most of all, not exactly sanitary. Doesn't matter what ingredients they put in. It is not going to prevent mold and bacteria caused by moisture. Sometimes something can feel dry and not be completely dry. Exactly my point. Something you have to sit out for a quite long time to assure the dryness. Yes, it doesn't break when you drop it. Yes, it rips. Break, rip, tomato. Customers didn't expect such little amount of product due to the price. There's other brands that do this. Yet they give a customers a discount. They charge full price, didn't even waive the delivery fee. People expected something that they can too use. They can, I guess, use. Even if there was some improvements to be made, you can sanitize it. If you want to use it or someone else, the alcohol disintegrates it. They said they tested it for 28 days for sanitary reasons. Most people have their makeup longer than 20 days. That's so cool. I really love this part. When customers received their products, they did not receive a form to fill out for feedback, in which they asked for. When people gave their feedback, they got very defensive, never really addressed any of the issues for them and say, well, some people are really cruel. Yes, and that's unfortunate. People who are really cruel and idiots. There was a lot of people who trusted them, who given them constructive criticism and was ignored. So no, people did not know what they were buying into, especially since there's a professionals in the field. The product performed poorly. How did they not know? People trusted because they were going by their experience and education, and they repeatedly say this in the last video at the airport, like, we're the doctor of education, like we're educate, but you did not educate people on this constructive criticism, I would say. They trusted that they knew what to look for in quality product. This was not delivered. Customers did not get discounts for being their focus group. Customers probably wouldn't have even appreciated the delivery fee to be waived. Customer received a poor quality. When they gave them feedback, they did not get any straight answers. They had to complain to get a feedback form after the fact. I don't understand why people don't see the problem with this. Listen, you can still like them, but when you mess up, don't deliver. Just because you like them doesn't mean you can give criticism. This is just so valid, so valid. If they are wonderful as people, say they are, they would have taken in consideration, not go in defense mode. Admit that this idea was bad, that customer deserved better. You know, I would say that, yeah, the State of the Union was so telling, because instead of this childish approach, they should have shown a professionalism and not going out with this, because their PR team should have told them that this is not a good look. People would have respected them for it. The way they handled it, how bad it was, is the reason people questioning them. It's about this problem. People are going to speculate. If they're not willing to give the answers, people think you have something to hide. It was just handled badly all the way around. I'm not saying they can recover from it, yet we have to stop blaming it on the customers. That is what they want you to do. In so many words, they said you don't understand. No, the problem is we do not understand. We love questions. They messed up. They are humans. You just can't simply ignore all the problems with this. Otherwise, brands are just going to continue doing this. We need to up our standards. We can't just keep paying luxury prices because for mid to low quality products, just because they like the influencers. You know, I feel like this is a valid criticism because every single person makes mistakes. The way how you handle these mistakes is so much different. This was very disappointing. I really did have trusted and faith in them. I was excited to see what they were coming out with. I am not coming from a place of hate. I totally get it. It's not. You have valid criticism. I did a lot of speculation, but if you don't want people to speculate, then don't leave people in the dark. They messed up? Hopefully they learned, and in the future it will be better product with better honest marketing, willing to answer the hard questions. They can recover. If you had people just blow smoke up their noses and praise them no matter what, they will never learn and strive for better quality. Wow, wrapped up perfectly. And I talked exactly about the same thing. You can make mistakes, but it's showing how you can actually work on your mistakes. I want to read another comment. This one is from Give Me the Look. I don't understand why people are upset when they were very clear that most manufacturers skipped it and that they're releasing it for you guys to decide whether or not you want to see it on the shelves. So you already knew that these are products that most companies were not going to accept. So if you knew that, why are you going to acting like this isn't a finished product and you're a test dummy? Yes, you're a test dummy. I want to be the test dummy, and I have been on that wait list, and I would have been excited to try the Flexi powder even if it didn't work because I love the experience. I totally understand, like a lot of makeup lovers, they really love this point, but at the same time, let's be fair, they said that these products, they're innovative and they're very good, so they advertised it as a good quality product, so people were willing to invest $34 into this product and I guess help them out with the feedback. But at the same time, this product, as we read in the previous comment, is the problem with the ribbon. So they didn't actually fix the real issues they knew about. So they knew about these problems. Like, they didn't know, that's one thing, but when they knew and they still released this product for a huge amount of money, I don't understand that. I thought that the product that is going to be released would make at least some sense. It would actually solve the problem. That is the main reason. Like, the way they advertised this product is a little bit different what they actually present it, and the way how they handled the situation is a little bit different what people expected. A real constructive feedback. Meanwhile, you guys actually had the opportunity to try it, and you're just upset that you don't like it, and now you have people convincing you that you're a test dummy. Yeah, that's what you signed up for. You sign up to try a product and give your feedback. The problem that they actually didn't conduct a survey up until people were pissed. So, not delivering on their promises. If you don't want that, then don't get it, because I'm glad to take your spot. I didn't get it, so I'm willing to give you my spot. What I think is interesting is so many people buy products that they end up not liking, but you can return it, because once you use it, you can return it, right? But because it's a brand, you're okay with it and you make it work. But when you find a group of people that are so explorative and so courageous and so adventurous, and you're probably not like that, because I'm an entrepreneur, I like to create things and I like to change the way things are and make them better. And for me and people like me, this is a phenomenal. If you want a perfect final product, which may not even work for you, because there's so many people that will buy Dior and all of these other products and they don't work, but they still keep them because of the brand. The problem with Dior is that they have a history. So people, they don't really buy Dior because of some innovative products, though probably it is. So people are buying this because of the name. Lipstick Lesbians, they have the name, but doesn't have a long history to prove the quality or anything like this. And I would say, I get your opinion that you're up to some innovation and test out some products. I don't really mind that. But if the product is actually worth the release, I was excited about this strategy when I did my first podcast about lip labs. But, I still expected something really groundbreaking. And again, the problem with advertising, 35, even I was thinking 34, is not a lot of money. I think the concept is phenomenal. Well, I think like $35 or $34 is quite a lot of money. Maybe for some people this is not a lot, but for others it's quite a lot. And I would say that, do you remember like Makeup Revolution? They were on point every single time. Not even on point, but like they were releasing a bunch of some new products and they were duping some other products. And when the quality dropped, this product actually flopped. The Makeup Revolution, they actually flopped, and now they have quite an issue. Lazy Susan answered not quite, and City Dublek, I hope I did not mispronounce your name. I'm so sorry if I did. No, they were not. You're mixing people that found out about the product being a rejected product from other companies way later, after their purchase with Lake Labs, and with the people that are just clueless from start till the second apology video. Lake Labs failed to explain properly what is in the ethos and what they are actually selling. That is what I'm talking about. Well put. Thank you. Their language were very vague, and with the help of people like you, Lake Labs defenders, they were able to slither around with excuses that you've made for them, when in reality, they failed to convey their own message, failed at their own marketing, and their own product that they launched was also a failed product. Yes, unfortunately, it's true. In my opinion, when they had their own company that actually failed and they closed it down in 2025, they should have known certain things. This is not the first time they're in the business. This is their second time. And to know how to respond, how to answer certain questions and comments, this is crucial. The difference is that before this first launch in their first company, they didn't actually have any influence. And now they do have, in hardcore fans, they defend them, which is actually great. I like an idea that people, they have a support system, which is so much easier for them. And, when I read you the long comment with great points earlier from Joe Rez, I feel like this person doesn't come from a hate place. This person is coming from a place of like real concerns, and just we didn't get any answers. That's about criticism and about hate. They didn't get a lot of hate from some idiots, as it well put together, that were attacking their appearance, and which is not okay. But the valid criticism with the vague language and not answering properly, and going back and forth with what they said they're going to pick up from other products, and now they're saying that they're going to do some formulas from scratch, so it's custom made formulas. This is absolutely different. But love you all so much. Thank you so much for sharing your positive or negative feedback and your comments. I feel like everyone has its right to be heard, and they deserve to know what is actually going on behind the scenes. I hope I didn't bore you, and I love you all so much. I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Thank you so much.